How are habits formed? Why do we form them? How can we become intentional about their formation? Through my many years of research and testing, I've come to form certain opinions based on all of that research and all of that testing. And those opinions are, habits happen organically, so I tap into this knowledge. Every habit contains the same 3 parts. This is the secret to cracking them. It's better to focus on building habits than breaking habits, and there's a 5-step system to how I approach that intentional building of a habit that I'm going to share with you in just a few minutes. Let's define what a habit is first. A habit is just something that we're doing on autopilot. It's automaticity. It's something that we do and we don't even think about it. Where'd that come from? I'm not even sure. That's because it came from autopilot. There's studies out there from Duke and Harvard. And those studies say that we spend somewhere between 40 and 50% of our time on autopilot. You don't believe me? When's the last time you were in a blackout? Think about the last time you were in a blackout and you walked into the restroom to use it, and what's the first thing you did? That's right, you reached for that light switch. Don't deny it, I know you did it. Because I do it every single time, multiple times in the same blackout. I reach for the light switch and then I get mad when the light doesn't come on. That's autopilot. You ever drive down the highway past 3 exits? You don't even realize you passed the 3 exits. That's autopilot. You drive to work or home from work, and you don't remember driving onto your block or passing the gas station that you pass every day. Autopilot. So we spend a lot of time in autopilot. Let's use that to our advantage, and we're going to talk about that later on in developing habits and why developing habits organically and using that organic autopilot to our advantage is an amazing technique, I guess you can call it, that I use. So what are the 3 components of a habit? Every habit has the same 3 components. So we can identify when those 3 things are happening, we can then identify our habits. And we can break into them. This is how you break a habit and how you form a habit. You use these 3 steps that every habit has. Those 3 components: trigger, response, reward. There's always a trigger, and typically it's an emotional trigger. There's always a response, and that response is taken because it's seeking that reward. I feel stress. The response to that trigger of stress is I reach for a whiskey, or I sit on the couch and I watch Netflix over and over and over and over and over again. That's the response to that trigger of stress. Now, what's the reward? The reward is I don't feel that stress anymore. Every single habit, when you break it down and you really look at it, and trigger is the hardest one to see, but you'll start identifying these 3 components. And now we're going to use those to break the secret of habits. I found that every time I attempted to break a habit, this is why we build habits, we don't break them, because every time I went to break a habit, I felt so much resistance. I felt like I was depleting myself of something. I was removing something from myself. I was losing something. Now, it could be I wanted to break the habit of having beers. This is a good one. Whenever I mowed the lawn and I did outdoor work, I wanted to break the habit of always reaching for a beer on a summer day because that ice cold beer felt so good, right? But I always felt that I was depleting myself from that. So this is why you don't break a habit. This is why you build a habit. The other reason why you don't break a habit and you build a habit instead, and this is really, really important, is when you break a habit, you're now causing a void. And if you don't intentionally fill that void, then your subconscious is going to fill it for you. Hamster wheel. That's how you stay on the hamster wheel. Because your subconscious is going to be like, oh, I got a great idea for you. You don't want to drink beers while you're mowing the lawn? I'm going to allow you to drink water. And we're going to implant that new habit. No, it's not. It's going to go back to the easiest, most basic thing it knows, drinking beers while you're mowing the lawn. When you build a habit, though, there is no void for your subconscious to fill. Think about it like this. We've all gone to carnivals or restaurants and we've seen those coin games where you drop the quarter in and the quarter lands and there's that little bar that's pushing the other quarters off the ledge. When I build a habit, I'm paying attention to adding those quarters. Because what those quarters are doing is those quarters are building next to that bar so that that bar can push against those quarters and push the old quarters off. If I'm adding new quarters, the objective is those new quarters replace those old quarters. So the integrity of the quarters laying on that shelf never disappear. There's never a void there. The new quarters just end up pushing the old quarters off. The new habits end up pushing the old habits out. There's never that void. And now you could start removing yourself from being on that hamster wheel. So what's my 5-step process for building habits? Once I decide on my habit that I want to build, right? Whether that's saving money for an investment, giving myself a great big high five in the morning, brushing my teeth with my left hand, right? I tried doing that. Brushing my teeth in the shower as opposed to at the sink. I've tested many different things out and I found that the following 5 winning steps are the things that really help me in building that habit. 1, habit stacking works. Habit stacking, if you don't know what habit stacking is, it's a concept I was taught by B.J. Fogg. B.J. Fogg's the head of Stanford's Behavioral Lab, and he wrote the book Tiny Habits. And prior to him actually writing that book, he put out a mini email course. 7 days straight, an email would appear in my inbox, and I would do what I was told. And he would work through building a tiny habit in habit formation. And one of the things that he suggested was habit stacking. What habit stacking is once I've determined the habit that I want to take on, I then attach it to a habit I already have established. I already have established my morning coffee, right? So if I want to take supplements, fish oil, and vitamin D3 with K, right? If I want to take those supplements, I stacked it on me making coffee. Every morning I come down and I make my cup of coffee, I will take my supplements. That's habit stacking. And it really works because you're already doing one thing, and that one thing, that habit becomes the trigger, response, reward. The habit of making coffee becomes the trigger of the next habit, taking my supplements. Make it easy in the beginning. This is something else from BJ Fogg. The guy's an absolute mastermind. But dumb it down. Whatever your habit is, dumb it all the way down to the most basic pieces. The most basic components. KISS, keep it simple, stupid. Stupid being me. Make it so simple that it's impossible not to do. Doing this for 2 reasons. One, well, you're doing it for one major reason. The major reason why you're making it so simple that you have to be able to do it is because when you're building a new habit, you're going against your subconscious. Your subconscious likes things very organized, your subconscious likes knowing what's going on, what's coming next. It knows, okay, if this is happening, then this is the program I have to run. It likes knowing that. When you start a new habit, when you start a new routine, your subconscious is like, whoa, what's going on here? Is this danger? This is danger. I don't like this. And it pushes back. And you have to remember that your subconscious has been being built over the entire course of your life. And here you now have this new habit you want, and it's brand new. And it's kind of like a seedling. Like when a seedling sprouts, you can just pick it out of the ground. It's not that mighty oak. Your subconscious is that mighty oak. Your subconscious is going to push back on that. When you dumb it down, you make it so easy, your subconscious doesn't realize what's happening. And now you're implanting on your subconscious this routine because I'm taking tiny little steps. I want to run a marathon. I start with just putting my shoes on. A couple of habits I built, right? When you're picking your habit to prove that this is going to work, repetition's key. That's the third step. But make it so simple that you can't fail at it. I used to want to drink a glass of water first thing in the morning, right? They would say that one of the healthiest things you could do is drink a glass of water first thing in the morning, because when you sleep, you dehydrate your body. You lose that moisture. So bringing a glass of water to bed with me and laying it on the nightstand, I wanted to build that habit. That was a very easy habit. That habit only took about a week to really form. And by form, I mean I didn't have to really think about or remind myself to get a glass of water. I started just automatically doing it. Because in that week, there were plenty of times I ended up laying in bed, right? Like I'm laying in bed, I sit down, I pull the covers on, I'm nice and comfortable, and I'm like, oh, I forgot my water. In that moment, you have to get up and take the action of going downstairs, filling up a glass of water, bringing it up. It's work to build a habit. But the beauty is, once you do that work and you get it to that natural state of automaticity, operating in autopilot, then it just happens and you don't even think about it. And it's a beautiful thing. So you got to do the work up front, but you're doing the work up front so that you can hit that goal. So to test this out to see if it works, even if you don't want to drink a glass of water in the morning every day, that's a simple way you can do it. Another simple thing that I did was I wanted to brush my teeth in the shower as opposed to at the sink. So how do you dumb that all the way down? The best way I found to do it was I would take my toothbrush and I would move it into the shower so that when I appeared at the sink, I'd be like, oh. And then I stopped appearing at the sink and I knew that I would just brush my teeth in the shower. So making it so simplistic that you can't really mess it up. And you slip it past that subconscious, that resistance. Repetition's key. You've probably heard the myth of the 21-day myth. So tip number 3 here, or step number 3, is repetition's key. There's a saying, a method, whatever it is, whatever you want to call it, 21 day. I call it the 21-day myth because they say a habit takes 21 days to form. And it's not a complete myth. Because the truth is, a habit can take as little as 7 days, 7 to 10 days, and as long as 280 days. It all depends on the person, the situation, the environment, the habit itself. I said drinking a glass of water, like remembering to bring a glass of water upstairs, was pretty easy. It took me about a week to do that. But bigger things take much longer. So make sure that you're getting that repetition in. Every habit you have because of the repetition of life. If you have to set reminders to do certain things, I want to read. This is another one. I want to read before I go to bed. Lay that book on your nightstand. Have it open to the page you want to read. Make it easy. Make it simple. And when you make it easy and you make it simple, the repetition is much easier and simple to pull off. And through that repetition, You're telling your subconscious mind, this is something that I want to do. This is something that's important to me. And your subconscious will start making it more automatic. It makes it more automatic because it sees that you've been doing this for so many days that, all right, this is the new routine. This is the new program you want to run. This is what I'm going to do. Number 4, I found that I need to feel the purpose behind the habit. We talk about paradigms and paradigm shifts, and your paradigm is just simply a deep-rooted belief that you have that runs your habitual behavior. But when I want to form a habit, those habits where I really put a purpose behind it, I was more apt to actually develop, and I developed them quicker with less resistance, and it was just a better process. So what am I talking about? I'm talking about if I want to become a healthy person and I want to drop weight and I want the habit to be eating only whole foods and not processed foods, or I don't want to eat sugar, right? Then the purpose behind that is I want to live to be 150 years old so that I can be around for my kids, my grandkids, and my great-grandkids. I want to live forever. And when you feel that in your soul, it makes building that habit of eliminating as much sugar as possible from your diet, because sugar is the absolute devil, much easier to push through the resistance that's going to come up when you first start that endeavor. And every time I felt the purpose behind the habit I was trying to build, I was able to build that habit in a much more relaxed and calm state. I didn't have as much resistance. Number 5, the last part of this, I would journal about my progress. What was going well, what wasn't going well, how I could improve on it, what I could try differently. And why was I journaling? I was journaling to keep the habit front and center. If I kept the habit front and center, then I was more apt to remember. Remember I said when you first start out the habit, when I first started out that water habit of bringing it upstairs, that I would get into bed. I'd be like, oh, I forgot the water, right? It wasn't front and center in my mind. If I'm journaling on it, if I'm writing about it, if I'm analyzing it, if I'm tweaking it, it's front and center on my mind. If it's front and center on my mind, I'm more apt to take action on it. And as I take action on it, as I actually perform the habit intentionally, it starts getting programmed into the subconscious, and I start using that natural, organic habit-making process. My subconscious starts seeing what the triggers are. The triggers are, I'm starting to get ready to go to bed. The triggers are, I'm thinking to myself, I'm closing down the house, I'm turning off the lights. Oh, you're turning off the lights to go to bed? Hold on, let me throw out, don't forget the water. That's how habits are formed. And through that repetition, all of a sudden that thought just automatically happens, and I'm not even thinking about it. You can use, when you're first developing your habit, one of the best techniques that I've used, if I'm feeling that resistance, if I'm having a lot of resistance, and let's say I'm 2 or 3 weeks in, I'm like, why isn't this working? It's not working because I'm not actually performing the habits in an intentional manner. It's not becoming part of my routine. I will use Post-its. I always tell this. I wanted to use leverage. I wanted to learn about leverage, and I would use Post-its and put leverage on probably 10 Post-its around the house. And my wife went around and she made a beverage. She was messing with me. So now I keep this one here just because it's kind of like a family joke. But use Post-its. Post them around your house. Instant reminder. Put them on your nightstand. Put them on the lamp on your nightstand. Put them on your bathroom mirror. Put them on your laptop. Wherever you're going to go. I've used Post-its on the steering wheel of my car. Use Post-its. Bonus tip, follow Neil's golden rule. Neil's golden rule is simply don't beat yourself up over it. You're going to want to do this. You're going to fail at it. There's going to be times where you don't do it. There's going to be times where you're rolled up in bed and you're like, oh, I forgot the water. Don't beat yourself up over it. It's no big deal. It's a process. You'll get it down. You have the ability. Never, ever, ever beat yourself up over it. Sometimes it'll take you 7 days. Sometimes it'll take you 280 days. It doesn't really matter because we enjoy the process of going through it, of being intentional and on seeking our sights on big, hairy, audacious goals and going out there and crushing it. Guys, around here, we live up here in the numerator, not down in the denominator. Go out there and be unstoppable. I absolutely love spending time with you. I hope and wish you a absolute fabulous day. Go out there and crush it. Have a very blessed day.